People of Earth, please lend me your energy. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Games Cage. Today, and only today, it is finally time for me to review Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. That's right, it's officially been a week today that the game is out, so I'm surprised I beat it. I beat it in about, I want to say, 54 hours, and that's me doing most of the side quests, playing through most of the game. Well, I know I beat the game, I beat a lot of the side quests and a lot of the content in it. When you beat the game, though, there are a lot of side quests that unlock, so my journey is far from over, but I figured it's time for me to give my full thoughts. So, for those of you who are uninitiated or under a rock, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is essentially a game that covers the Z storyline of Dragon Ball, which is the massive middle chunk, because there's original Dragon Ball where Goku's a kid, and then there's Dragon Ball Super, which is after Dragon Ball Z, but technically not after, it doesn't matter. But point is, I did it, and I'm really happy to report that I love this game. Now, this is the type of game, what's really weird about talking about it is, I know a lot of you have wanted to hear my thoughts on this and give my review, but there's a lot of things about this game where I feel like if you're a hardcore Dragon Ball fan are different than if you're not. So, my simple, short, quick, little stance of the game here is, I think this game is the best way to experience the Z storyline, aside from the anime and manga. Right? I think this goes within that triangle of hey, do you want to experience the Z storyline? You can either play Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, watch the manga, read the manga, or watch the show. And I understand watching the show may be too long of an investment, so I think playing a video game is a big bonus for gamers, obviously. So I think that's the biggest compliment I can give this game, that it is the best way. It's not the perfect way. I still think if you want every little detail and every little thing, you would either go watch the show or the manga, but I think if you want not only the best scenes, but some of the most cool and unique scenes, and they mostly cover everything in this game, which is pretty wild. I was shocked sometimes where I'm wow, you are actually going on with this cutscene just because you're doing this dialogue beat, you're doing this story moment, and I think for the most part they nailed that. Now let's get obviously into the gameplay. So the gameplay chunks are into kind of three sections, right? So you've got your open world exploration where you're kind of just shooting enemies and fighting. You've got your sub-stories, and you've got your main story. So, the main story, like I said, covers the entire Z storyline, and I think, like I said, they did an awesome job. I think, for hardcore Dragon Balls, there's a couple of key scenes that are missing that I think would have been, more impactful, or some music choices that would have been better, because, again, let's say the Gohan and Cell Kamehameha, this means nothing to you if you don't know the context. They don't use the song from the anime, which everyone really knows and loves, so the scene kind of feels a little less powerful. So there's little stuff like that. Or when Goten and Trunks fuse, you don't get the scene with fat Gotenks and skinny Gotenks, which is the heart of that scene, you know. And I understand, again, it's a video game, you can't cover everything, but I feel like for a game that made a main quest of Goku and Piccolo going to get their driver's license, they should have done that. Or Vegeta doing the flash attack, Big Bang flash attack, is that what it's called? One of those moves. But and they didn't do the giant buff Trunks. So it's there's just a couple key scenes that if you're a Dragon Ball fan, you're gonna be that's weird. Or how did they not have it's over 9,000? I don't know, maybe they didn't want another meme to come out of it or not, but over 9,000, for whether you like that meme or not, or just that scene, it is iconic into Dragon Ball. So it's really surprising these little things they do that cut things off. But again, other than that, I think they nailed the storyline. And man, when you get those cinematic cutscenes in the game, it's like nothing else, bro. Some of the visuals on these scenes are insane. When you fight Rikuma, it looks beautiful. When you do Goku versus Vegeta, when Vegeta does his whole Majin Vegeta thing at the end. But it's everything they do in the game just feels really authentic, and you can tell the team really cares about the series, and you can tell they put love in it. The Vegito scene is unbelievably beautiful. It's insane. I really love that so much. Another issue I had, though, was that you could tell I feel the Boo saga, I feel other than the end stuff, I feel a bit of it was a little rushed. You could tell that was kind of the last part they were working on, so they cut some corners. In general, you could tell they cut some corners whenever you have the narrator saying they did this and then they did this, instead of actually showing it to you. But again, it's not too big of a deal. It's just little things that add up there. And then when it comes to the gameplay loop, right? So other than the main story, right? The basic scenarios are going to be, you're going to be flying around the world. So flying around the world feels great. It is, at first, the controls threw me the fuck off. I was like, what the hell is going on? Why am I holding R1 to fly up and R2 to fly down? But then again, like I said, as soon as you play a lot of it, or even the combat used to throw me for a loop, I was just like, I got everything down after a few hours. It's not a game you can just, I don't think it's a game you can pick up and play. I think it's a game you have to be in that gameplay loop because it has a unique, weird control scheme, but again, you get used to it. But man, flying around the Dragon Ball world is awesome. There's so many locations, and again, like, I love running sometimes because you have like a super speed run. I love just flying around. I love collecting the orbs that you can find in the sky. It's just, I feel like they made exploring really fun. And I think that's like a really important thing. Like when you can walk to cities that are known in the series, like West City, or you can go to Kami's house and all these places where I'm like, it is just so, it's almost shocking a game like this didn't exist before. You're also doing sub-stories in the game, and the sub-stories, I gotta say, are, I think, one of my favorite aspects of the game, because it really gives, it fleshes out the characters from the series a bit more. It fleshes out a few things, and I really appreciate that. Like a character like Yajirobe, he's a character from OG Dragon Ball. He's like a little fat dude with a sword. He's really funny and very angry. In Z, he's kind of mostly thrown away, right? But in this game, you get a couple of side quests with him, and you just get to know him a bit more. You get to hang out with him more, or you get some side quests with characters that are beloved, like Krillin or Yamcha and all these guys, where they get a bit more moments and you get like a bit of a taste of their lives. So it's like, I really appreciated the sub stories, not because of what you did, because all sub stories in the game really boil down to either get me these parts or fight these enemies, which again is fine. To me, like, that's okay if the story in it is substantial and fun, right? I do think they could have found some creative ways to mess with the combat, whether it's like, I don't know, fights where your health is going down the whole time, or fights where you gotta beat it in like a minute or two, you know? Like, I would have liked some spice ups like that. But again, for the most part, the gameplay, so when you talk about the pure combat in the game, I think it's really fun. Again, this is where it comes into play, where if you played a Dragon Ball game before or not, there's a big thing. So, because the combat system is essentially a polished version of Xenoverse. If you played Xenoverse on PS4 or Xbox or whatever the hell, then you are familiar with this combat system. It's a more polished version of it, because Xenoverse feels a little more plasticky on the hits, because like it's an online game. But for this part, it's basically a polished version of that. It's really fun. It's really fun. Why did I say it's really fun twice? It's just like, it's a really fun combat system. It doesn't really evolve much. I mean, like, again, the best things that happen are basically that you get your Super Saiyan forms, and that you can unlock like newer moves by upgrading your skill tree. And again, you upgrade your skill tree obviously by doing quests and leveling up. It's like, it is just really cool also to just have a Dragon Ball game where you can level up. You do have RPG elements. You're having a great time in the world and stuff. And it's like, I really thought that loop was really fun. Again, the combat wasn't anything revolutionary, but it's super fun. And one thing I do wish they did, which is, again, another weird comparison of, so CyberConnect 2 is the developer of this game. They make the Naruto Storm games, where I feel like whenever you fought a big boss in those games, in the Storm games, mid-fight you would have like a crazy cinematic, right? Whereas in this game you don't have that. The cinematic is almost like all after the fight. So like an enemy will have 6 bars of health and you'll feel like it's going on for a bit. And the only cinematic you'll ever get is like, let's say you hurt Frieza enough, you get to like gut punch him in the stomach and it zooms in. So it's like, there's some brief moments of that, but I would have preferred if like they did what the Storm games did, where you don't feel like a boss is really long, because midway through you get almost like a sick cutscene and then you continue. So I would have loved some stuff like that. But again, like I said, they really just nail the feel and the dialogue. Like they re-recorded all of the dialogue and it's amazing. Again, other than the sub-stories, basically everything in the game is voiced, and I think it's a massive benefit for it, and I think they just nailed that for the most part. And some other issues I have with it are like loading screens can be excessive, especially for sub-stories or moments in the game where you gotta go to like 5 different locations. It can be like annoying. Again, I don't mind because it's basically phone time. Like, I just check my phone, but it's like, I think they said they're working on that. What else? Again, there's some minor bugs here and there. It's never like bothering me too much. Again, like I said, so I would say my issues with the game are stuff like, I wish things were a little more cinematic. I wish they added things from the, from the manga or anime a bit more, like leaned into it. But again, they do a lot of cool stuff. Like they did, again, the fact that the Goku and Piccolo driver's license thing is in there, the fact that you get to play as casual Vegeta, the fact that you just get to hang out with characters, it's like, the Trunks, see everything. It's like they do a lot of awesome stuff, and it's like, it's almost shocking that we have this, and it's almost shocking it took this long, because On the Game Boy Advance, we had games called Dragon Ball Z Legacy of Goku, which is essentially this RPG open world, and it's just awesome to have. Like, it's just a cool game to have. And like I said, to me, this kind of fits in the triangle of best ways to experience the Z storyline. Is it the best Dragon Ball game? No. I think that still goes to Fighters. I think Fighters is just perfect to a T, in my opinion. I mean, some people can disagree. And I think Tenkaichi 3 might be a little better. I'm not sure. But this is easily top 2, top 3 Dragon Ball games, which is a compliment when you're playing a series that has over like 50 games. So yeah, I would say, again, my overall thoughts, I really love this game. It has its issues, it has its flaws, it's not perfect. It has some issues with variety in quests, it has some quality of life issues, it has a few story issues, but other than that, I really do think they nail the animations, they nail the moments, they nail most of the beats of Dragon Ball, and I think it is an authentic storyline and game that, like, I feel like, again, you get a lot of content too. The fact that I beat the game after 54 hours, and I still have a shit ton of things to do. Like, I feel like I'm really gonna be done the game after maybe 70 hours. So I just love the amount of shit to do. And also, again, another thing I liked and didn't like was there's something called the community board where you unlock emblems and you're leveling up things. And it's like, that's fun, but it never feels like it's necessary. Like, it feels like it's like, let's just put excess things for the sake of JRPG-ifying it. So again, I like those things, but it's not necessary. But yeah, so like I said, either way, I love the game. I have some issues with it as a hardcore Dragon Ball fan, but I feel like if you're new to Dragon Ball, you're gonna actually love this more. I have my friend who's never really watched Dragon Ball other than like seen a few things here and there for it, and he's really loving it. And again, to him, he won't know what's missing. He won't know that the gameplay style is from Xenoverse. So there's a lot of little things like that. So either way, I think it's worth it. I had an awesome time with it. As a massive Dragon Ball fan, I was really happy with the results. I'm so happy this game exists. I can't wait for DLC and to play it more. So yeah, that's it. That's all. So let me know if you guys are playing it, what you think. Let me know if you're planning on getting it. And that's it. So thank you, and I will see you all next time. Peace.